This is Dr. Matt Barber of Alabama Orthopedic Clinic. We are proud supporters of Ransom Reprogram, Ransom Ministries, and all of the good work that they do in our community. If you would like to learn more about us, check us out at alortho.com or barbertotaljoint.com. You can also hear more from me personally on the Ortho Real podcast. Thank you again for allowing us to be involved with Ransom Ministries and all of the great work that they do.
Hey, welcome to the Ransom Experience. My name is Matt Armbruster, Executive Director of Ransom Ministries. You're going to hear stories from people that we've served and people that serve alongside us, as well as those that we partner with throughout our community. You're going to hear about decisions they made throughout their life and things that happened through different avenues of their life that caused them to go down a path that they didn't see themselves going. And then also those decisions that they have to make on a daily basis to stay away from those decisions that they made in the past. Ransom Ministries empowers people to utilize their God-given gifts and talents in their career and for their community. All along the way, we learn how to help those close to us and also maybe even help ourselves. This is real. This is raw. This is Ransom.
With every star.
This show is brought to you by Ransom Recycling, your number one choice for electronic recycling in Mobile, Alabama. Help reduce waste in our landfills by recycling all of your unwanted, unused, and non-working electronics. Ransom Recycling is a division of Ransom Ministries that is helping to put men and women back to work. Check out ransomministries.com for a complete list of acceptable items. Drop-offs and pickups can be easily scheduled through the website. Please note that we are not accepting TVs at this time. Ransom Recycling, open 8 to 3 Monday through Friday. Help our planet while helping men and women re-enter the workforce.
With every star, we are born again. Open your heart, spend less time in your head.
Welcome to the Ransom Experience, where we, on a weekly basis, get together with people that have been through our program, people that are volunteering with us, and then we do some teaching along the way as well. So I'm glad you're joining us today, and I know you're going to enjoy this show today. I'm joined with a friend of mine that I've got to know over the last few years, Jim Backus, and I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks, Matt.
All right,
Pleasure to be here.
so today what I want to talk about little is about volunteering, but mostly I just want to kind of get your background, where you're from, what you did. I know you're a big Notre Dame fan, so and I got a friend of mine, her I think it's his nephew is number 87, the baby Gronk.
Oh, okay.
So I follow them now because of that. And
Okay.
so anyway, so just tell us a little bit about Jim Backus. Who are you and where you come from?
All right. Thanks, Matt. I was born here in Mobile, born and raised, and still living in Mobile. Came up through the Catholic school system here in town, and then went off to Notre Dame and studied both theology and engineering while I was there.
Wow.
So I got two bachelor's degrees while I was up there, and then went on, got a master's in engineering at Michigan State, and that's where I proposed to my wife, who's we've enjoyed 44 years of marriage now, 4 kids and 13 grandkids. So had a long engineering and construction career. Started in Detroit, building auto plants, and finished up here in Mobile as the executive vice president of Hargrove Engineers and Constructors.
Yeah.
Ralph Hargrove and I got together around 2002 with a pretty small organization that we then had built up until it became the biggest engineering company in Alabama. So, so I think along the way, tried to be a faithful Christian and a Catholic, and whatever Father asked us to do, we did. Different committees and that sort of thing.
Yeah. What's cool about it, and I think Hargrove, people around this area know Hargrove as a very giving organization, someone that gives to a lot of different things in our area. everybody knows them for that. So I know that was ingrained, and obviously with you being on the ground, kind of ground floor of all that, that you fed into that, because that was kind of your heart too, is just giving back, doing things for people. So I really respect Hargrove because of that, and I know a lot of people in our area do as well. Which, for those out there listening that own businesses, I really feel like it's important that you not only make money bottom line, but you also get a return on people, and that's a huge thing for your company. I know that's Ralph's vision. I know that was your vision. So we met through.
If I could just give you
go
one
ahead.
thing.
Yeah,
So one of the things, there was a wise colleague of mine that once said, if you want to grow, you have to share.
Yeah.
And so Ralph and I built Hargrove as an employee-owned company, but the sharing just doesn't end with the teammates on the team. You've got to share back with the community and where you're operating. So that whole thing is, if you really want things to grow, you need to share.
Yeah, instead of being all about yourself, right? And that's anything.
Right.
That's your spiritual walk. That's your job, whatever it is. You got to be able to share and grow people. Because I've always been one that the way you move up is to train your replacement.
That's right.
And you got to get someone that can take over for you. So that's a good thing. So we met. It's been a couple years ago now, right?
I think it's January of 2019. It's just as you were beginning operations here at Ransom Recycle.
Yeah, that's right. Because we started that, and we kind of were real on the low end of that when we met. And I remember you coming out here, and we just really hit it off because. You said you had 2 degrees. Well, you're one of the smartest people I know for sure, and I'm not always that smart. So it's always good to. I'm a firm believer. If you want to grow, also, is you surround yourself by good people.
Absolutely.
And I saw that in you, and I wanted to be involved some way for us to be together. So we were in talks with some other organizations to do some things, and really I felt like you and I were on the same accord with that we really wanted to give people the opportunity to participate in their healing, but also give them the tools to get to that point where they could be all that God had created them to really be. And so as we kind of grew and we stayed in touch, and we'd meet, and we'd talk for hours. I remember you and Tara and I sat one time and talked for a long time, and I just felt like, I didn't know if it was going to be then, but I knew one day that somehow we would be doing something together. So tell me about that. Like when you first met us, when you first came out here, kind of what you saw in Ransom that drew you to us.
Yeah. Well, I think I shared with Dr. Simeon, who was with us that day, that you reminded me of Ralph Hargrove. And there's this book, Good to Great. You've probably heard of it.
Yep.
And what is it that you're looking for as the head of, what are you looking for in the head of an organization? Someone who is humble, but absolutely determined to succeed.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I saw in you. I saw somebody who was humble, out here in Chickasaw in an old reconditioned tire store, to build a social enterprise and a business, to give people an opportunity to remake themselves, to participate with God's grace, and but very humble in that, but also someone who was very systematic and absolutely determined to succeed. Yeah. That despite whatever setbacks you were going to encounter, you were going to power on through it with God's help, and that's what I saw. I was really excited about the whole prospect of what you were doing out here.
And that's kind of what I felt too with you, is that's why I felt like we were the same, because we wanted to see that happen. And I'm a process. I like to see it. I'm not always good at getting it there. I'm a dreamer. I'm a visionary. I can show you and tell you this is what I think we need to do, but I need people around me that can say, okay, well, this is how we're going to get to that. Mm-hmm. And so I've been trying for years to try to surround myself by people that can do that. So that moment, I felt like this might be the guy. This might be the guy that can show me how to get to where I envision us being. I could see it. It's just getting there. Getting there is the hardest part. I'm willing to do whatever. I told someone one time, I went to Kansas State and we were terrible in football. I said I'd much rather have somebody that was 0-3 playing ball than someone that was 3-0, because it's easy to win. You find the character of someone when they lose.
That's right.
And so we've had a lot of losses along the way. I never count anything as a loss. I feel like everything we do here is a success, even though in the world, in our eyes, it doesn't seem like one, but it's a lot about planting seeds, doing that. So as we moved on, we just kept doing what we were doing. And I've always told people, we're going to do it whether or not anybody comes along or not. It might be on a small scale. It might only be 3 guys working in there or 3 ladies in the class, but we're going to do it. And then so we kept communicating. We kept talking. You did some other things, I know you kept with this other organization and did some things with them, and you were on their board, and you were doing great things there, and I was very impressed with that. You put together, I met a lot of people because of you, that you put in front of me. And then then you're doing something with Spring Hill, right? Spring Hill College?
Yes, I've just finished my master's degree in pastoral studies at Spring Hill College.
Yeah. So you did that. So you had called me then and said, hey, I need to get some hours and doing some things. So I didn't really know how that would work.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm going through a credential process to become a certified prison chaplain.
That's right. That. I knew it was something that you needed some hours to do, and I didn't know how that was going to work. And I know you were at the jail here locally, and then a lot with COVID kind of shut all that down. Right. And then we just started doing some new things with our program where we would take guys, and I really felt like we needed more services. We needed more, one-on-one type stuff, and more stuff where we could get to the bottom of the reason that they needed this program, the reason they were in a homeless situation, a drug situation, or incarceration, not making sure they don't go back, because that's our ultimate goal, is to get guys where they don't go back, So I knew we needed these services. I knew I needed someone that could come in and really get to the bottom of the guy's issues. And then when we started talking and we started these new plan of actions, I was like, Jim would be perfect for this, because that's what he's trying to train to do. He can't go in the jails anymore because of COVID. So why don't we just do that here, whatever he's doing? And so you've been coming out here for, what is this, the 3rd or 4th week?
Yeah.
I think so.
Like that,
yeah. 3 or 4 weeks, kind of when we started the new way we're doing it. So for those out there listening, we kind of were struggling with, guys would have to wait 90 days for a new group to come in. So, and I'd love to say 100% of the guys make it through and they do everything they're supposed to, but normally about week 2 or 3, we lose about 50% of them. So then we were like, we'd have 5 guys, and we're like trying to recycle electronics and trying to make money, because that's how we pay them. And I said, how can we bring people in like monthly, like a group every month? And this is the only way we can do it. So we bring them in. They're on a schedule. They do certain sessions in our curriculum on certain days. And you have taken that mantle of kind of overseeing that, kind of doing the training when it needs to be. We're always looking for people. So anybody out there listening that likes to facilitate, these lessons, they're real easy to do. You don't have to have 2 degrees and a master's to do it. But you come in and you do that. So we're always looking. But you've kind of taken on the mantle of kind of overseeing that for me, and it has been awesome for me. It's been awesome for our program. I think it's taken it to that next level where they're getting a little more one-on-one added love, really, that they weren't getting before.
Well, and it's been good for me too, because I've been volunteering at Metro Jail for 8 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially when you're in chapel, and we would run the Authentic Manhood video series in there and have conversations with the guys. But when you're in big groups like that, it's really hard for the guys to let down the mask a little bit. And so I was yearning for an opportunity for that one-on-one kind of interaction. That's a lot of what I do in spiritual direction. So I'm also a certified spiritual director. So they're all confidential one-on-one spiritual conversations. This is a little different because it's focused on employment, work, the dignity of work, what the individual brings to work, his perspective on work as part of him fulfilling his human dignity and his God-given talents. So it's a but nevertheless, it's been a great opportunity for me to just let people talk about their stories, and they're just amazing. What you hear and the victories that these guys have gained, even though they've ended up on the shoreline here. They've been on some pretty interesting voyages,
to say the least. Most of them.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about. That's what we bring on here a lot of times is stories of everybody that what they've been through and where they are now, and you get to see it firsthand. Like in the beginning, you kind of seeing. Tell me this. So as you've been doing this, even though it's been 3 or 4 weeks, so have you seen a change in even the guys that you're talking to right now?
I think the main thing is whenever we're dealing with anybody, I don't care whether it's somebody you're dating or somebody you're building a relationship with, there's a gradual process of growing trust. You have to show up. You have to be there. You have to be a consistent presence. You need to be observed as a person of integrity. You also need to let the network within the workshop work for you a little bit. Somebody has an interaction with me or you or somebody else, then that word gets back, while the guys are working, they'll talk about it probably. So over time, then the guys start opening up a little bit more. Then they start asking for time. And that's when that my credibility is building.
And you go back to that. It's a lot about trust, because most of the people we serve don't trust. They've been burnt by whatever it might be, and they have their walls up, and it's hard. But I think the key that you said is consistency. Mm-hmm. See, a lot of times we get in the ministry and we want to help and we want to volunteer and we want to be here, but if we don't see any fruits within the first 2 times we come, we don't come no more. Mm-hmm. I've seen that. I've been in ministry for 11 years, and I've seen people come and go because, first of all, people are looking to volunteer to work. They think it's like a job. Mm-hmm. But we try to tell people, and this for anybody out there, that volunteering is just being available, just showing up, just being here and being the person you are, showing that you have integrity. I mean, there's nothing more powerful than having, like, when Charlie comes, and we're going to talk to Charlie in the next episode, and he comes on his way to work. He just drops in for 30 minutes, 40 or an hour, and he comes in on his way to work, and that speaks volumes to these people, the guys and ladies that we serve, that, hey, this guy took time out of his day to hang out with us. Some of their own family don't do that. Right. Right. So to me, I want to get people to understand that, we need volunteers. We need people to come in and teach sessions or just be here, pray for the guys, or be here. But mostly we just need people to just show up and even just hang out. Right. Because that means a lot to these guys, because most of them don't have a really good network. They don't have people that are there for them and accounting. So I think that what you said was awesome, because it's just being available. Mm-hmm. It's just being here, being consistent, showing up, listening, and that's what I think you're phenomenal at, is just listening. Mm-hmm. You don't really talk a lot, you just listen. Mm-hmm.
I try.
My wife tells me I need to do that more, probably, is listen. But
mine too.
But I think that's the key thing, and if anybody takes anything out of this, is that ministries out here need people to be consistent and to just show up.
Yeah. Well, I think Greg Boyle, Father Greg Boyle out in L.A., said it really well. He said, that we go to the margins not so much to make a difference. We go to the margins so that the people that are already there can help make us different.
Amen.
So there's, that's what it's all about. It's all about kinship. Right. We're all children of God. Right. And God just takes delight whenever he sees his children getting together, loving each other.
That's right.
And what is love? Love just means willing the good of the other for the sake of the other. Yeah. Not for my sake, not for my agenda, but just because I want that person to thrive. That's what you do for your children. Yep. That's what you do for your wife. Right. That's what it's all about. That's what God put us on this earth for, all right? To love like he loves. Uh-huh. That's the whole purpose of life, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
So, and it's really not that, it's not that simple. I mean, listening can be hard. I'm an engineer. I'm a project manager. I like to set action items and come up with a schedule and a timeline, and I like success, right? I like to see people thrive and all the rest of it. But also, being in jail ministry for 8 years, you see the same faces. You think guys get it, and then they leave, and you have great hopes for them, and then 2 or 3 years later, you see them right back where they were before. And then some of them you hear about don't come back because they overdosed or got shot or something like that. So, we're all in God's hands. Right. And all we can do is just love the people God puts in our lives and to put ourselves out there when we have the chance, when we have the opportunity. I mean, for years, I was busy raising a family and building a business and doing what I could, but I couldn't do what God's given me the time and the capability of doing now. Yeah. I couldn't do that 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. So when those things happen, like you see this guy, a year later, 2 years later, come back in, how do you deal with it? How do you deal? Because it is disappointing. I mean, I've been in this a long time, and I would have to be dead for it not to disappoint me when someone doesn't do what we thought they would do or whatever. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. There was one incident where a guy came in and I saw him. I hadn't seen him in years. And I just was so happy to see him. Mm-hmm. I just came up to him and I said, man, it's so good to see you. And then I kind of caught myself and I said, well, maybe not good to see you here, but
that's right.
But I don't know. It's not about me. It's not about my agenda. That's the grace, I think, of whether it's prison ministry or this kind of work is you just realize you get I've had the opportunity to look someone in the eye. I often tell this story about Gabriel, first guy I encountered in the barracks at Metro Jail, and this guy had a tattoo that was awesome. It was the hand of Satan tattooed on top of his shaven head, and he said, I think we've met somewhere before. And I looked at him and I looked at that tattoo and I said, what's your name? And he said, Gabriel. And I said, Gabriel, I'm pretty sure that if we had met before, I'd have remembered. But I think I know what you mean. Because I looked into his eyes, these big brown eyes that his mother looked into on the day he was born, and she named him after an angel, the messenger of God. Yeah. And I was just overcome that night thinking about that, about what a marvelous opportunity that, there was something of the divine spark in him that I was given the grace to see. Yeah. And he was able to see it in me. Yeah. We were brothers, right, in that moment. And I don't want to get all, maudlin about it, but that's what it's about. I mean, he's just ace. He's made some bad decisions, primarily, one of them getting that tattooed on his head. But God loves him. And God gave me an opportunity to see him as God saw him by thinking about his mother, who looked in that face and saw the face of an angel. So, hey, every one of these guys that are here at Ransom, they're all messengers of God. They're all angels in that respect.
Yeah.
We just too often are scared, or too scared to notice. We just want to keep walking by, or we don't have time. We think we don't have time. So this is a marvelous opportunity for me to encounter God's messengers in my life.
And that is an awesome way to look at everybody that comes through them doors, is that they are made in God's image. God made them perfect. He sees them perfect. He sees through all their stupid choices, tattoos on their head, whatever it is. He sees through that. Mm-hmm. And that's how he's called us to do it.
Yeah.
Whether or not they ever do what they're supposed to do doesn't change the fact that God loves them and that we love them, because then that's conditional. You know, there's a lot of people out there that, well, if they don't do what I want them to do, then I'm done with them. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not the way God does us, you know? And so he's called us to serve like that. And I think that's how we deal with that. How you just explained that was, you know what? I'm not in the fix-it business. I'm not here to fix anyone. I'm here to see them the way God sees them. Mm-hmm. That's the only job I have. That's the only job a volunteer has. That's the only job people in ministry have, is to see the people that they're around every day. And I say serving sometimes, but really it's just that I am in front of every day. I don't have to be in Ransom Ministries. I could be at Walmart. I could be at Target or wherever I am. Everybody there, God loves. Mm-hmm. Whether they're Muslim, whether they're atheist, whatever they are, he loves them unconditionally. Mm-hmm. And that's how we have to train ourselves. Because I think when we get mad about someone not doing what they're supposed to, we're loving them conditionally. We're loving them like humans, not like God. Mm-hmm. So I think that's awesome. The way
I think we do love people unconditionally. Yeah. That doesn't mean, though, that we don't free up their future sometimes.
Yes.
Not that you know, if they're not following the rules and they're not ready for this. Yeah. There's another famous thing for. I was lucky to make a retreat with Father Greg Boyle a couple of years ago, and I said, Father, you say that Homeboy Industries is not for everybody that needs it. It's only for the ones that want it.
Yeah.
And I said, how do you know who really wants it? And he said, well, they come in under their own power.
There you go.
They come in on their own. And but that doesn't mean, though, there are people that you think they're ready for it. Maybe they think they're ready for it, and it turns out they're not ready for it.
Exactly.
It's not the season for them.
And it never changes, though. Like we had guys, I mean, you know, you did POAs with some guys that didn't make it, you know, and they needed it, but they weren't ready for it. They couldn't do it. But that doesn't change the fact, too, that, hey, they come back, I love them.
Absolutely.
You know, because that's what this is about. It's not about, you know, forcing someone to get better. It's just like I said, we're not in the fix it. They've got to participate in that healing part, and many of them aren't ready. I love what he says, because that's kind of where our philosophy here is that, hey, you're here because you need this, but you might not want it. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. If you don't want it, then, you know, maybe in a year you'll want it. Maybe in 2 years you'll want it. I'll always be here for you. So that's kind of how we have to, and I think Jesus is that way too.
Absolutely.
You know, I ran from Jesus for a long time, and he was still there. I mean, he didn't condone the things I was doing. He didn't like the things I was doing, but he knew one day when I turned back that he would be there.
Amen.
And I knew he'd be there. So I think that's what we have to. That's the message that we have to send to every person that comes through our program, this program, any other. I don't care what it is. If it's your business, everybody that comes through that. If business owners kind of treated it that way, which, like I said at the beginning, Hartgrove gives like crazy, and they give to their own people. That's part of that. Is that, hey, and not everybody works out because that's not for them.
Yeah, I think, as I said, it's as I often said when we were in business, and we hired a lot of people, and we had one of the lowest turnover rates in our space, in our industry. But nevertheless, there are people that either, for whatever reason, this is not the place for them. Yeah. And I used to apply my theology degree in business when I would say, well, God has made every individual for a purpose. But for some people, their purpose is not to be here.
This is not their purpose. That's right.
And so it's our obligation as the managers to free up their future.
That's right.
So that we can move them on to wherever it is that they can thrive.
I love it.
And because if they're not thriving here, it's not good for them.
No, it's not good for them or the other people
That's
in
right.
that because it pulls them down a little bit. So
yeah, and it is interesting though when you think about it. There are different consolations that you get from different activities. I remember a Christmas party one time that we had thrown and watching all the young couples that were at that Christmas party and all dressed up in cocktail dresses and suits and all the rest of it, and just feeling such immense satisfaction at what God had accomplished through us. Yeah. All that opportunity that we had given. And to tell you the truth, that's part of this. It's the same seamless garment that we're involved in right now. Yep. It's just they're not all dressed up in fancy clothes, but it's just more opportunities. It's it's my hope that God's given me an opportunity to help other people to thrive in their in the workplace and in whatever team they get a chance to play on. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I've enjoyed talking. I always enjoy talking to you. We could probably sit here for an hour and just talk about everything, but we do have to end. But I do want to put this out there. There's people out there listening. Somebody that has a great business mind or just wants to help people. That we need people every day to come here alongside us so that we can even have more one-on-one. Like right now, you're taking 4 guys. Mm-hmm. Charlie's taking 4 guys. Well, we always need people to say, hey, I want to walk with these guys. And we might get it to where it's only 1 or 2 mm-hmm. per guy. And I think that's an important part of what we do is that they have someone they can look to. And it's that mentorship that we've been trying to put together for years that I think we overthought. We overthought mentorship. Mentorship and discipleship to me is just relational. It's just being there for each other, talking, showing up for 30 minutes a day, every so often. But we try to get, booklets and studies and all this stuff when really it's just about relationship. That's how Jesus discipled his disciples as he mm-hmm. walked with them, right? He just as he went, he taught them lessons, and I think that's what we have to do. So anybody out there that really needs that wants to get involved, they can go to our website, ransomministries.com. They can come out here, just show up, 320 South Craft Highway. And those that listen from far off that can't be here, your job is to pray for us and continue to pray for God to raise up people to come alongside us. We need services as well. We need people to come out and share what they offer to people. Examples, we have Victory Health that's partnered with us. They come out. We have a bank that comes out and does financial literacy. We have an eye doctor that wants to come out and do eye exams, things like that you think that we a lot of take for granted that we need. So
tattoo removal.
Yeah. So I so appreciate you joining me today. I know you're busy and I know you had class today, but thanks again for coming out. And
if I could just one thing for those that are maybe considering what to do. I went through something a few years ago where I really felt that God was reaching out to me, and I felt very blessed. I felt like my relationship with God had been restored, had been, taken to a new level. Your faith is there. Not just for you. That's kind of the conclusion that I came after a few months that, this is great. And Lord, I'm so grateful for you coming back into my life in such a special way. But But over time, I knew this wasn't just for me. This just wasn't just for my sake. That there was something that, because love is meant to be shared. And so I just encourage you, try it. Hey, this may not be your thing. That's okay. But you're going to learn something. You're going to be graced by it.
That's right. Because you won't know till you try.
That's right.
I mean, if I'd have been not started this because I wasn't sure I could do it, then I wouldn't have started it for sure.
Well, when I that first night I went in and met Gabriel, I'm thinking I'm an engineering executive with a master's degree and Notre Dame and all blah 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 and all this. What do I have? What possibly could I have to offer guys like this? Where would this even go? And so I was surprised. Surprised by God's messenger right there in front of me.
Yep, and we're all surprised by what God does when we just step out there and let him do it.
That's right.
And so we'll end on that, and I appreciate again you joining me. If you want to share this podcast with all your friends, share it on your social media. You can go to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're even on TikTok and all those different ones like that for the young guys. But yeah, we want you to share this because I think more people need to hear the messages that we're bringing. And I appreciate you guys joining us. Until next week, see you later.
Too many days in the darkness without a glimpse of the light. Running tired and broken and scared, but I swear I'll never give up the fight.